Let's get corrupted. What up, YouTube? It's your boy Joe with Meteoric Serpents coming back at you again with another episode of the Colubrid Corruption Podcast. Guys, as always, hope you're having a great week. Hope you're enjoying yourself. I'm excited to be back. I've been loving this podcast, bringing on some awesome people, talking about some really cool animals, of course, passionate people in this hobby and showing off, the animals that they're passionate about. Tonight is episode number 11, and we have Harry Claiborne as our guest tonight. Harry is in Florida, and we're going to be talking about some, king snakes, Lampropeltis. That also includes milk snakes. So it's going to be a fun time, and also field herping, because that's something he's really into. Guys, as usual, I say it all the time, make sure first you hit that like button on this stream. It helps me out a lot. I like seeing the likes. Last week was a great episode with interaction, likes and stuff. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. I check the analytics weekly. Not a lot of people, or good majority of the people, are subscribed, but there's about 25% or so, if not more, that don't subscribe and they watch. So guys, if you're sitting here, sticking it out with me and enjoying this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me, and it helps support the channel and everything like that. As usual, guys, all my social medias are down below. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. That's where I post everything. That's my, main channel of interaction. All my reels, videos, pictures, whatever, podcast announcements, everything's going on Instagram. That also goes over to my Facebook. If you're just a Facebook user, you can follow us on there. YouTube is on there, obviously. And as always, Morph Market, I do still have snakes available. I'm vending a show next weekend. So we'll see how that goes. A little local Repticon. So got a rep for the locals and for Repticon. Glad to be back on the show circuit again. We did one like 4 months in a row and then took off a couple months, but we're back again. I do have t-shirts available. Been telling people that if you are interested, just let me know and I'll have one sent off to you. Chris, if you're watching, yours is on its way and hopefully gets to you early this week. Otherwise, let's see what else. Oh, been plugging in every week. If you're looking to give your snakes a diverse diet, Blake's Exotic Feeders for some quail. I've been really loving giving the quail to all my rat snakes. They've been enjoying it, and cost effective, a bit better than rats. So that's always great. And just, leaner diet, more variable. So always healthy for the animals. Before we get started, let's see who is here tonight. Bosa Reptiles, as always, Sultan of Support. What up, dude? Hope you're doing well. Row 5.0. What's up, man? Jason Keller, Claiborne is my boy, but he's literally human. Go rich and tell him I said that. Well, he just heard it. So there it is. Solid Serpents, thanks for coming out. Thank you, Walter. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Hope you're doing good tonight. Man, Freddie, Ryan, what's up, man? Chris from Copperhead Reptilia, thanks for coming out. Yeah, first time checking out the live, so thanks for tuning in, man. DSC David, what's up, man? How you doing? And Morph Master J. Guys, all right, that is it. Let's get into it. Let's bring out Harry, have ourselves a show. What's up, Harry?
How we doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm trying to stay warm up here, man.
Yeah. cold Florida today, at least.
It's Florida cold. I know whatever that means. It's cold for me.
Yeah. We were talking about it before the show. I woke up this morning and I checked my weather app and it said 49 in Boca Raton. I'm in South Florida. So that's cold for Boca, for sure. But it raised up after a couple hours. But yeah, man, let's get into it. So obviously I said that your kind of background or your overall stuff in the hobbies, all the Lampropeltis, all the king snakes and the field herping. So if you don't mind going into it a little bit, where did all the reptiles start for you? Was it that field herping that got you into everything? Do you have that classic story, or if you don't mind going into it?
Okay. Well, first of all, let's address the elephant in the room, Mr. Keller. I would just like to go on the record and say that if I had a dog that looked like Jason Keller, I would shave its ass and teach it to walk backwards. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. As for the reptiles, I mean, it's not the most unique. I mean, I like dinosaurs more now than I did when I was a kid. So I guess it wasn't the dinosaur thing, but it kind of started with my dad and sort of ended with my mom in a weird way. My parents weren't together super long, and that's fine. That's, the way of things a lot of times. Had a good childhood and all that stuff. But I remember when I was young, my dad had this gigantic pair of just boa imperator, or, just big BCIs.
Yeah.
Plain Jane, massive, named Butch and Bell, and they were awesome. And, so I always kind of knew that you could have snakes. I mean, it was in the house.
Right.
I also grew up in the woods pretty much, so I was always the stereotypical little barefoot kid running around flipping logs and stuff. But I guess there was a little catalyst about that time. I remember one time I was probably maybe 4, and my dad brings in this corn snake he found in the yard.
Okay.
And, first thing he does is hand it to me, and the first thing this corn snake does is just absolutely rail me on the chin. Just bit the hell out of me, and I'm crying. I think at the end of the world. And I remember my mom picking me up and holding me in front of the mirror, just like, look at yourself, you're crying over that, you're fine, kind of thing. And I had those classic like horseshoe double bite marks.
Yeah.
Right on my damn chin, and that is burned into my head to this day.
Okay.
And, you would probably think that maybe that would give me an aversion to it, but I guess for some odd reason it did the opposite. And I made it my mission after that point to double down on the barefoot log flipping, activities.
Right.
So that kind of picked up. But I don't know, fast forward a few years, I one of my good buddies, still to this day, that lived in that neighborhood, childhood friends, he got a leopard gecko. You know how it goes. I had to have one then, and
right.
So we both kind of did the, like leopard geckos and corn snakes things, we accumulated them as you do. And my mom and dad were gracious enough to play along,
Right.
But then something truly magical happened, and my mom went down the rabbit hole too while I was a kid and started racking up her own collection. And it was over then, I mean, it's just so, having, doing it with a parent like that, like it's a lot of fun, man. And she had a lot of cool stuff. All she really does nowadays is some balls, but, which is still awesome. I mean, I'm looking at a handful of them right here. So, I'm not without other things as well, but,
cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, we had some really cool stuff throughout like the late 90s and the 2000s and all that stuff. And then, I kind of, as I, got into high school and into college and stuff, it kind of took a back burner. I always kept and I always herped a little bit, but, I had a lot of other things going on, as one does. And so, yeah, I guess I was kind of, just kind of on the back burner, keeping only a few animals and stuff. But
now you said you were coming in now like in the 90s and stuff, and arguably that's when the reptile hobby took its first like probably biggest boom. So like what was that what was maybe like one animal that you saw that was like wow, that like really brought you in even more potentially if there was one?
Well, I don't know. I remember my mom taking me to Daytona for the first time, and I don't remember what year that was, but I've tried to make it a habit to go every year there. I've missed a few, but I think more just the show culture, like those old those Daytonas back then were crazy, man. And even a kid knew that, even little Harry running around, it was just starry eyed and stuff. And, of course, back then you could have a few more things than you can, vend in Florida now, but it was wild, man. Just seeing all the people, seeing the culture of it, even back then, it was mesmerizing for a little kid, man. And I don't think I could ever put it down if I wanted to at this point, just after that being like core memories, so to speak, from
when
I was a kid.
No, and I could agree with you. Like Daytona being probably one of the first shows you went to, like that's a great introduction to that culture. Seeing like one of the biggest shows in the country. Now, where I'm from in New York, I used to go to White Plains, and White Plains is, I'd say, like one step lower than NARBC, the Super Show, and Daytona and stuff like that. It's probably the next show down, like
It's
next
no
tier.
Slouch, though.
What was that?
It's no slouch, though. That's still a heck of a show, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a great show. It's
Oh,
huge. Yeah. It's packed. There's a lot of people there. So, when you're exposed to that environment, you're just like, wow, walking into a room like that. And I was a younger teenager at my first one, so I could definitely see that being a huge allure.
Oh yeah, straight into the fire with Daytona first, huh? It was just like,
yeah,
nuts. I still get excited every time I go, though.
Yeah. So now you said you went to college. It kind of went a little bit to the back burner. And how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 33.
33. Okay.
33,
so, yeah. So as you started to get back into it, what were some of the things that you started to become interested in? Was it the stuff you're currently keeping, or was it maybe some other things that led to now? Or
let's see. It's kind of funny, as a kid, I guess, as just the whole time I was younger, really, I kind of was always more into like the more exotic stuff, like I like pythons and boas and stuff like that, not so much the North American stuff, because I just didn't really interest me. And of course, my mom, being older and wiser, was like, man, I love all this, stuff from here. I love all, she was big into like North American colubrids and stuff. And I kind of noticed as I got older, I just sort of, for whatever reason, started to develop more of a fascination with that kind of stuff. Who knows why? Maybe it's just a natural progression of it. But I don't know. Getting back into it, I had a few things. I had a handful of leopard geckos, because I don't think I'll ever be entirely without those. They're fun. And but I met up with a guy in a Walmart parking lot and was given an IJ, a poplin carpet python.
Yeah.
That I still have. He's up there in that old monstrosity.
Nice.
Of a cage right there. I probably had him about 10 years now, he was about two when I got him. And so my initial plan was to just get heavy into Morelia. I mean, I wanted a bunch of carpet pythons. I wanted green trees. Still do. Had a pair when I was a kid. Really regret not still having them. But I don't know. And I was at a pet store. We have a really awesome local pet store for reptiles and stuff, Carol's Critters, that's been around for a million years and is just a staple of the reptile community in this town. But I saw a Brooks King there one time, and I was like, oh man, I remember my mom used to have some of these, and they were one of her favorite things. So I bought one of those, and I just enjoyed it so much that it just kind of, I think he was probably the sort of the catalyst for the king snake obsession. That and herping. I mean, herping when you're in the Southeast, at least partially revolves around trying to find king snakes. So kind of, and I'm really bad at finding king snakes, so I decided if I had some at home, maybe I wouldn't feel as bad. Skunked.
Yeah. No, king snakes definitely seem to be harder to find, right?
For some people like me, some people don't seem to have that problem, and it's infuriating. But it is what it is. Can't be too jealous.
Okay, cool. So let's get into some of the species that you're currently keeping today. If you can kind of run through the motley crew of all of them.
Oh yeah, and a motley one it is. Well, I started off being really, really enamored with just the Getula complex for the most part. Like the common king snake or whatever you want to call it. I started off with like that gigantic Brooks. I got I really went down the Apalachicola King rabbit hole because they're the the local legends around here. They're I'm like 30 minutes from the Apalachicola National Forest. And
okay,
part of the reason I don't find any king snakes is because that's what I target most of the time, is the hardest damn one to find. But so yeah, I got really big into those, into the Apalachicola kings. I've only got 2.2 right now.
okay.
But that was kind of where I was, really leaning heavily at first, and I'm always kind of got an eye out to get more of those. They're just awesome. They've got just total pattern variability and stuff like that. They're great. I got some Eastern Kings, a couple different localities of Eastern King, just the regular chain king.
Right.
I've got a handful of Splendida, the desert king snakes, which are fast becoming one of my favorites. They're just really cool looking, and there's a lot of variability across their range and stuff too.
Right.
I have one lone speckled female that from a really obscure locality that I've been sitting on for, I think, about 2 years now, and I really need to get off my ass and try to find her a male. It will probably involve a road trip.
Okay.
But yeah,
yeah, the speckled kings are beautiful. The one you have on your Instagram, I'm gonna bring it up real quick, because she's one I have to share.
She's sitting right here. I actually took her out of brumation to pull her out if she cooperates.
Okay,
we get time later maybe. Yeah,
I hope you guys can see that. I mean, between obviously all the speckling there, the bright yellow belly.
Oh, dude, that belly is
right
pumpkin orange in person. It's the weirdest thing. It's
pumpkin. Oh, really? Orange. Okay.
The phone is defeated by that color for some reason. I can never get it right. She also is a little fat looking right there. She's been on a diet.
Yeah. Okay.
She's a good eater, and she's kind of trying to be slimmed down a little bit at the moment. But yeah, speckleds are awesome, man. And what's such a cool thing about those is there's just this wild ass intergrade zone all around where speckleds are from, being like the western part of Alabama into Mississippi and, over into like Louisiana and East Texas and stuff like that. But the damn intergrade zone around that with like whatever's neighboring them, from the king snake clade is just wild, and you get some crazy looking stuff.
Okay.
That's one of the things that makes me really love speckled so much, and it's a crime that I only have one in this house. I should probably have about 10, but I say that about everything. But let's see what else. I have one random Mexican black king because I had to have it, and I probably paid way too much for it, but he's cool, and that's fine. Eventually I'll probably get a female just to, because I can't stand not having multiples of something.
Pairs. Yeah.
At least pairs, but I've got that. I'm trying to think what else. I've got some Cali Kings. Actually, Chris Painshaw was getting out of some of his little locality Cali King pairs and stuff that he's got. I got some of my Splendida from him as well. But I have a couple different localities of California King. I have some of the Long Beach Grease Kings, which are a personal favorite of mine. As they get older, they kind of, what would normally be black on a Cal King just sort of muds out and turns into this really cool, like oily, like dark brown color. It's the craziest thing. Mine are starting to kind of do it. One's in shed. I've got the other one here, but they're awesome. And I've got some Brawlies, which are really cool. They're kind of blacking out. They have these little thin ass white bands, like, just like a little bit of like Oreo in between the shell and the cookies kind of thing. And they're just enough for it to be there. And it's just such a cool thing. And there's about a million other different looks for those. I mean, as you know, not even morphs excluded, even, you could pretty much spend all day looking at different Cal Kings.
Right. Yeah. And I've learned over the last couple of years how many morphs they come in, and even, I've seen a couple of the localities look different. I actually had one in the past, but it was at a time when I only had a few snakes, and I basically had to get rid of it to make room for one of the female Texas rats I have now. So I no longer have any king snakes, but yeah, that was always a cool snake. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Cal King as a pet.
Oh no, man, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I do. The only Floridana I have, if we're not counting my gigantic Brooks male that I've named Mongo because he's big and dumb. And if anybody's ever seen Blazing Saddles, go ahead and watch it while you can. But it is the big dumb guy from Blazing Saddles' name is Mongo, and it just kind of he brought that name upon himself. But yeah, I have a white-sided axanthic. It's also one of the only morphs I have here. But my white-sided axanthic Floridana is one of my favorite snakes, and as soon as I get some more room and time and money and all that stuff, I'm really wanting to expand a little bit into the Florida King morphs, but it is an absolute rabbit hole, and I'm not super knowledgeable about all the ins and outs. I like axanthic things as far as morphs go.
Yeah.
Something about black and white is just cool, in general. So.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, can you kind of explain the difference between Brooksii and Floridana? Because there was one time where it was Dr. Loafman posted about it, and I think I commented. I was like, aren't they the same thing? Like, these are two separate things. Because colloquially, I always called Brooks King and Florida King meant the same thing, but I didn't know it was actually two different. I don't know if it's species or subspecies. So if you don't mind going into that.
As much as I know, I will. To my knowledge, and this could be totally wrong, and open to critiques on this because this is just what I think is the case. Without having really looked much recently, but I thought that Brooks was either shot down or it was only pretty much like Miami-Dade locale animals that were considered actual Brooksii anymore. I have no locality information on mine, so honestly, if somebody's a stickler about it, I call him a Brooks phase king, and they're just they're lighter. They're that really pretty, like almost
like the yellowish
color kind of thing, and as opposed to when you get up a little bit farther, the more traditional Floridana, or like more of like a higher black sort of thing, and like with a little more of the yellow tipping versus yellow with the black tipping, it's almost like a sort of a shift there. But yeah, I'm really not sure. I've got the book that would probably answer that question right here. Brian Hubb's Common King Snakes, by the way. Awesome book.
I should get myself that.
Dude, it's awesome. It's really awesome. It's a good book. He has one I have around here somewhere for Mountain Kings as well, and I couldn't do much without it. Even just like at a 30,000 foot level, you got the range maps and stuff in there, which is helpful. But like he's just got locality phenotypes for days on all this stuff. You could get lost in it. It's a good book. But yeah, I don't know a whole lot more about the whole Brooks Floridana thing. I was just used to, it was more of a visual thing for me. I was like, that's Brooks. I guess now you can't do that. Or
I
don't know.
And then backtracking a little bit, Solid Serpents was asking, is anyone breeding high quality speckled king lines that you're aware of?
I know I see Morph Market ads a lot by a few people, and I don't know any names off the top of my head, but a lot of people work with the Harris County, Texas speckleds. That's the more traditional, like green, solid, no pattern speckling with the yellow bellies. And then some people work with the Louisiana stuff, which you see a little more Chain King influence in, and so you'll actually see like a pattern, like the sort of saddles of speckling on them, and those are my personal favorite. I need to get some of those. I like to call them redneck Outer Banks Kings. Outer Banks Kings, of course. There's a little tiny area, I think it's North Carolina, little island with where all the Chain Kings have this like washed out pattern in between all their saddles, and it's just, if you haven't seen Outer Banks Kings, look them up. They're one of the coolest things. Really neat little locality phenotype like that.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. And then let's see. Are you keeping any of the like Mountain Kings, no block guy, anything like that, or is it all the kind of?
Unfortunately, no pyros, no Noblokai or anything. I have plans to. It's just I make choices about what you pick up when you do, and you got to kind of live with it sometimes. But no, I've turned down a bunch that I probably shouldn't have, and they would fit right in around here. So I'm sure
Okay.
Sooner or later that will not be the case. Yeah.
Okay. And you have not mentioned the ever famous Alterna. You have a couple of those.
I do. And Chris Painshaw on your podcast sang their praise, and everything he says is true. They're wonderful. They really are. I have 3.3 Alterna right here. I kind of racked them up this last year because it's just there's too much going on with them to where you can to only have a few. I mean, you can totally enjoy only having a few. I'm just mentally ill and need a million of everything. But there's so many different different looks and stuff in there, and learning about the geography of the places and stuff. It really gives you a whole thing to dive into with Alterna, and it's awesome. Yeah, I've got a all right, show and tell. I got to do it because he was just out.
Go for
sitting right here in my face, and I got to pull him out. This is actually from this year's Daytona. Where'd he go? Yep. In your paper towel roll. Come out. And you have the ones like this, the the more traditional Blair's phase ones with the high orange like that. But look at that, man. Imagine being out there and just seeing that damn thing on a rock cut or something. I would lose my mind.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
There's not many things. Not many things prettier than a damn Alterna, dude. And new are even remotely the same or alike, and it's just, they're wonderful.
Yeah, I do really like the ones with the more light gray saddles like that one, because the contrast shows a lot better, and it's wow, that's a bright animal. Although I have no problem with the more melanistic ones because those are cool too. Like you said, no two are the same. I feel the same about my Texas rats. When you're looking at normals, no two are the same when it comes to a lot of these colubrid species, which is really awesome because it's so much variability.
Oh yeah. And I'm probably more a fan of the Alterna phase ones, which are the ones without the the high orange, either barely any orange on them or no orange at all.
Okay.
And I don't know if this guy's in the shed or not, but for example, same damn species.
Yep.
The only orange on this animal is a little bit right behind his head. He's a jerk. Don't bite me. But now this is one of the two that actually started all for me. I got him a couple Daytonas ago. I got this guy and a sister of his, and that was a rabbit hole that I may not have needed to go down, but I'm glad I did because there will always be Alterna here. They're wonderful. They're really no trouble once you get them eaten, which they're about 1 million tricks for, and it can be horrible or it can be surprisingly easy depending on the alignment of the planets.
Right.
But no, they're awesome. I'm actually planning on doing some displays for some of mine just because they're actually out quite a bit for king snakes. Awesome. And yeah, I would. They deserve to be shown off. They're Alterna one.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Cool. Any of the species I missed? Any of the other? You know what? Because I'm in a bit of unfamiliar territory when it comes to the king. So even some of the scientific names, you kind of get me.
Yeah, I do that. It frustrates the hell out of I can't help it. I try not to, but
No, you're good. You're good, dude. Because I do the same thing with some of my snakes, so I don't blame you.
Oh yeah. Well.
Oh yeah, you have Leonis. Justin said it.
Leonis, yes. On my notes here, I made some notes in case I lose my mind in the middle of this, which may still happen. And as I'm going down, I have just kings are the best, talking about Getula. Then I get to Alterna section. It says Alterna are also the best. And then in even bigger writing underneath, because I was getting excited by this point, it says Leonis are also the best. Leonis are awesome.
Okay.
That's a fairly new thing as far around here for me, the Nuevo Leon king snake.
Okay.
And also probably Chris Painshaw's fault to some extent. More so just for like sending me pictures. I don't even think I have any. I do. I have one little female milk snake phase Leonis from him, but
okay,
just really, another rabbit hole. But there's really nothing as variable as those. I know I just said that about Alterna, but if there was going to be something that was more variable than Alterna, it would be Leonis. Like, think of all the different patterns and saturations that you can see with Alterna, and now add about 4 or 5 different color overall palettes to that, and you have all the different possibilities for Leonis. They're awesome, and you really like. You can have a million of them, and no two are going to look the same, and it's maddening and awesome at the same time.
Right.
I got this little baby rack here from a lot of the stuff that I've picked up over the last year or so, and it's primarily Leonis and some Alterna and stuff on it. Okay. And man, it just looks like a jar of Skittles, man. And there is not a morph on that rack, and everything just looks like a jar of Skittles, dude. Like, it's pretty cool. And they're very addictive, and they're all just they're easy going, and some of the same feeding issues as babies and stuff, but like literally bulletproof after that. And they just chill, man. They're cool, and there's about a million different looks.
Nice.
There will be more. I think I have 3.9 right now. God, when did that happen? And yeah, they're awesome. I would have another 20, if I could. And who's to say I won't one day?
Yeah. I wanted to get back to the Getula, because what's the common name on those guys?
Common king snakes, or just as like the whole, as like Lampropeltis getula. And the nominate species being Lampropeltis getula is the Eastern King, which is probably my,
because that's what I thought you were talking about, and then you said, "Oh, I have some Easterns and some chains," and I was like, "Oh, is he talking about a different thing?" I'm not sure.
Sorry. The Chain King is more of a colloquialism for him. But,
yeah. Those I'm familiar with. I just wasn't sure if Getula encompassed those guys. But now I gotcha.
Not many things prettier than one of these guys either, though, man. I mean, that is just, you really can't beat it. The best thing about these things, they literally live in piles of trash and only come out to have sex or eat other snakes. Like,
right.
I mean, how is that not like the coolest thing in the world? Like, regardless of like how pretty they are. I mean,
yeah.
And they're pretty awesome. Just like, look at that, man. I don't understand how you could get much better than that. I mean, there are, different flavors of these all over the country, but you gotta pay homage to the base model, man.
Yep.
I actually 100%. Just pulled this girl out of brumation. I'm not breeding her or anything, so she was just kind of there for the sake of it. So
cool.
So she's a little grumpy. I'm gonna put her back. But no, these things are pretty ridiculous, man. I've got a Virginia Beach pair of those from this most recent Daytona from Howie Sherman, and I am super excited to watch these things get some size to them, because they're just totally different look from that animal. I was from South Carolina, so.
Yep. Yeah. Now, so I wanted to ask, with all this stuff you're keeping, are you very locale specific? Are you like, do you get some non-locale animals off of looks? What's your kind of route around there?
Most of my stuff is locality specific. If at all possible, I like to have as much information on stuff as ever. And besides just, kind of being a little bit of amateur geography buff, mainly because of locality animals, and like sort of having a need of, kind of picking up geography a little bit. It's kind of become, pretty fascinating little aspect of, like where stuff is. You can find it on a map and be like, well, this is why these are cool. It's because, they look like this here and stuff.
Right.
But, there's a CCR episode with John Lasseter on it. Where he's talking about as long as taxonomists keep changing things, I'm pretty much quoting him. As long as taxonomists keep changing things, there's a chance that your animals could end up becoming hybrids. If you don't have locality information on them. I mean, they can call it whatever they want. You know where it's from. And that solves a lot of those problems. So.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing, and that's been like kind of a recurring theme on multiple episodes. I know with Jake, we talked about that, with Chris, and even with April with the house snake. So, taxonomists are really messing our game up.
Well, they're doing what they think is right, and we just got to kind of keep up. And sometimes it's easier than others. But it's fun, man. I have animals. Obviously, when you get into the morphs and stuff, you don't really worry about that. I have Apalachicola king snakes here, which are pretty much found only in about 3 counties from around here.
Okay.
Because they're basically in the Apalachicola National Forest and like a little bit around the edges of it. And I don't have locality information on them. And it's incredibly maddening. But, they're from one of 3. But so at that point, it's just kind of, for me, but like it doesn't really, change anything about the animals, and it doesn't, devalue them in my eyes. It's just more, there's an open spot on the piece of masking tape on the front of their thing where the county would normally be written, and it drives my brain batty. But yeah, they're still great. I may actually breed those this next year. I don't know. She's a little female, still a little small.
Okay. And let's segue into that. Let's talk about breeding a little bit. What have you done? I don't know how deep you've gone with breeding these king snakes. So can you go into what you have done, what you're planning on doing?
I haven't bred anything in years and years and years.
Okay.
And the last time I did, it was like geckos and like sand boas and stuff, and like regular boa constrictors and stuff, just when I was a teenager. This incarnation of my collection is still pretty young, and I've kind of got it staggered to where a few different things will be coming online, year after year after year. That way, even I don't even present myself with the opportunity to overwhelm myself,
right?
Because I can say I won't do it all I want, but
it's tough. It's tough not to when you have animals ready and you're like, well, I might as well just breed them.
Yeah, and I know me, and I'm finally old enough to admit that I would probably, to some extent, do that.
Yeah.
But one species of king snake, this is reminding me, one species of king snake we did not talk about are Elapsoides, scarlet king snakes, which are about the only dang thing I can find around here. So I do have a trio of locality scarlet kings that are cooling right now.
Those are cool animals to find, though. Scarlet kings are cool.
Yeah, talk about a little.
If that's the one thing you could find, that's a pretty cool one to find.
I'm pretty good. Luckily, this is literally I find them on like the property I grew up on that my mom still lives on. Like it's just we've always had a super healthy population of them.
Awesome.
And so every now and then we'll keep a few, and obviously don't strip mine the place of them, but yeah, and so those may go, but those are some neat little animals, man. I know Smitty likes to call the Getula complex Lampropeltis because they're psychos, and I'll give him that. Some of them are, I like to make fun of him about it. Some of us just ain't got that dog in us, don't like king snakes. Scarlet Kings, I think, are the ones that should garner that nickname. They're just nuts. Just, thank God they're little, because these things, like, if I feel like getting shat on or bitten, I just grab one of my Scarlet Kings out. But yes, like even on my notes here, I have, Alterna are the best, Leonis are the best, and SKs are horrible. That's my notes for them. And I don't mean that in like a bad way. It's almost a term of endearment. They're wonderful and horrible.
Okay.
I have a trio of those. Long story short, wow, that I went on a tangent there, but I do have a trio of those cooling, and the babies are an absolute nightmare to get started. And
really, okay,
yeah. So that.
What do you think they're eating like in your general area? If you think they're a pain in the ass.
I've got to only assume they're eating like bugs and stuff, like maybe our like native isopods or those little red centipedes or millipedes, whatever that you find under logs around here. Lots of stuff that I don't really feel like going out and catching, but if I have to, I have to. My mom actually has one thing she does other than ball pythons. She has a long-term captive pair of Scarlet Kings from out there, and she produces them all the time and usually just puts them under a log out back. She's old-fashioned like that.
Awesome.
And it's sort of a redneck Head Start program, I guess. And plus she's like, I can't get them to eat. Well, last year she gave me a clutch of 5 that she hatched, and I was like, I'm gonna crack the code on this. And damn if every one of those things didn't roll on me. Very like within a short spell of each other. Like, and some of them even ate, like I was feeding them like mouse tails, which are about the most non-nutritious thing in the world. But so I've heard chopped chicken hearts and stuff for those, which I'll probably, if I get another clutch, I guess I'm gonna take it a little more seriously, because I did what I thought would work and it didn't. So now I'm gonna have to actually like listen to people, which is saddens me that I didn't just do that the first time. But so those will be fun if they go. If not, like I said, they're nightmare creatures, so it won't really upset me. Maybe next year.
Interesting. Now, DGB was asking, how do you keep Scarlet Kings in captivity? I've heard they're particularly difficult. Is anyone even really breeding them? Like, I don't know if
I saw there are a few people, and names escape me. If I'd been more studious, I would have probably like thought to look that up and write it down, because I saw somebody had a captive baby or two, and some people are doing it, and I've heard. I don't think a lot of people that are super active on the internet. I think it's a lot of like the old heads and stuff, just keep to themselves and do it for fun, because that's about the ultimate passion project right there. Because you ain't gonna get rich breeding Scarlet King snakes, but mine are all wild caught, and it's just a lizard scenting thing. Like I'll usually like give them a lizard, because that's what I can only assume they're eating. Lizards are incredibly small rodents, but I start with lizards. I have a bunch of Mediterranean geckos on the side of my house, and those guys, during the summer months, the neighbors get to see Harry running around his house with a beer in one hand and a butterfly net in the other, catching these geckos for all of these jerk king snakes that don't want to take rodents. But so I'll feed them one of those, and then almost immediately I'll just start thawing them pinky with the lizard and offering both. And usually they'll start taking both, and kind of phase into the lizard scenting and only offering the pinky, and then just the pinky. It's pretty standard. I have good luck with it. I mean, I may be selling it short somewhat. It's difficulty and stuff, but I've also got some that I've literally just offered them. I was like, I'm just gonna. I always should say there's a step before that where you just offer them a damn pinky or something, and if they take it, you lucked out, and you don't have to do any of that other stuff anyway. And I've had that happen. It's not super common, but you can, I've had good luck. All mine eat like little peach fuzzies and stuff. They don't really get anything larger than that, just because of their size constraints. But yeah, they're doing pretty good. That was one of the things that I was pretty proud of, is that they're all pretty well adjusted. I've had them for a good couple of years now before I'm even really bothering with all this other stuff, just making sure that they're really on point,
eating and doing well.
Just all the things.
Chris wanted to know, have you ever worked with Caligaster?
No. That would be cool. It's like Mole Kings or yeah. And I forget what the one out west is called. There's another Caligaster. I knew I was forgetting something, but no, I've not. I always love seeing people work with them. They're not a lot of people do. They're pretty cool. They're almost as hard to find in the hobby as they are in the wild, seems like. But I'm sure there are some people with them. I'm not super familiar with them, other than the fact that I would probably shit my pants if I ever found one. So
yeah. So I don't think we quite actually got to it. So do you have any like set breeding plans this year? Like, are you working towards anything that's like, yes, I want this to go?
Well, this year a lot of my stuff's still pretty young. I'd like to pair those Scarlet Kings. I have a pair. I have this this non-locality specific pair of Apalachicola Kings that could probably go. I'm kind of kicking it around right now. They're cooling just for just for shits and gigs in case I decide to. But if they got another year, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. I mean, that's I don't mind just playing the long game with all this stuff, man. I don't I'm not trying to go stuff.
I'm gonna pull up the what is it? Your Instagram real quick of the Apalachicola. This guy, right?
I think I know which one. Yeah, he's sitting next to me. I had him up because he just shed. That is one of my favorite animals. That's from Rob Nimmo. Got him in Daytona a couple of years ago.
Gotcha.
And I will say, I'm all for. I usually defend these things not being as crazy as they really get the rap for. Also, paper towel rolls from King Snake's best friend. But he's a little bigger now. But
wow, okay.
On there, but these things look like they're made of TV static. Like I have a hell of a time taking pictures of them because something about the way that pattern is, it just frags out an iPhone camera like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I could see that even through here.
It's crazy. I mean, it looks cool as hell, but like it's just, and you get a lot more traditional blotching, like wide banded looking ones, depending on the locality and stuff. But I really, I like the only one of those I have is in cooling right now, but all the other ones are more of that patternless look like that. But no, man, those he was actually pretty good just then. I don't have musk on me right now, which is awesome. But no, the more blotched ones are I guess what you see more, but it seems like a lot. I find the patternless ones to be, or the low pattern ones like that to be my favorite. So that's kind of what I have more of. I probably need to, in order to have an accurate representation of what they look like, I probably need to get some more blotched ones. So I guess if I decide to get any more of those in the next year or two, I'll probably lean more towards the blotch just so I have a more even example of them, I guess. Those are probably my favorite snake. My brain doesn't really do favorites that well. Like I have a really hard time. Like I don't think I have a favorite color or anything. Some days I do. Some days it's a different one. But I think more often than not, I'll probably say that Apalachicola king snakes are my favorite snake. And it's probably just because they're also a white whale of mine from herping and stuff. But I'm thankful I get to come home and annoy some at my house too.
Yeah. Now let's talk about we're going to get into the herping soon for sure, but let's talk about husbandry first. So what's going on in your systems? Like, what do you kind of do? How do you go about things?
Well, I'm really not trying to reinvent the wheel with anything here, especially with king snakes. I do a lot of rack and tub keeping. And I think if there was a species that really lends itself well to, doing well in a tub, it would almost be a king snake, like out of anything. They just, they just want to sit under stuff. They come out. When
they're a ground dwelling species. They hide and yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
No. And I actually, a lot of what I keep in are just like lidded sterilite tubs. I don't have a lot of pull out racks and stuff. I'm gonna have to do a major revamping of this room for a number of reasons at some point soon, and it'll probably entail some of that. I work at a cabinet shop, and I've got a bunch of plans drawn up for some awesome racks.
Nice.
That I will hopefully. I have a few ideas of little ins and outs of them, little things that I want to add that nobody really offers that, I want to, and I'm too much of a perfectionist to just go ahead and do it. So I haven't yet, but a lot of these are in like, things with lids and stuff, and just little like homemade rack systems with belly heat run to them and stuff. And
nice.
I don't even know that I need the belly heat, honestly, but I keep it just for a little bit of them. I only run it at about the stat is set at 82. It doesn't get to that inside the tub. It's maybe 80 on the back, just a little bit of a bump to give, if they want to go sit on it. And most of them, they're not like crammed to the front, but they just kind of chill wherever, so my room is not super warm ever, which is why I do supply the heat. My room probably runs at about 72 or so. So, I do have to, I do heat stuff for that reason, but it's
right.
They don't seem to mind one way or the other. And, if I had them in here without heat, they'd probably be fine, at least for a little bit, they're pretty bulletproof, which is another big boon of them for me. As I don't have to worry about, doing anything bad to them. They kind of take care of themselves. They do like to eat, which is a good thing. Once you get the babies going, they will eat whatever you give them, and you kind of got to watch out for that. But yeah, man, I mean, I pretty much just weekly feedings and, a little bit of belly heat, dude. And these things, lots of paper towel rolls and other disposable hides, because they sure are ugly, but the way they shit on stuff, it's nice to just be able to chunk stuff, man. And I mean,
Billy turned me on to using like flat cardboard in there that they could just go under my rat snakes, and they love it. They love it.
In the world, man. You don't need something with any sort of space above it. For these fossorial snakes, they just I'll literally take a square piece of cardboard and just set it in there, and it's the
literally
like they love. It doesn't take much. And for these montane things that to crawl around in rock cracks and stuff, I will crumple a lot of stuff up and give them like a lot of little, which is just a little added flavor. Do they care? I don't know. I mean, they use them. So, but
okay.
Well, I don't, pretty utilitarian for most of my stuff around here. I mean, I have a few display things. I have a giant Exoterra in my living room with a Gulf hammock rat snake in it. That is he's awesome. He's my one display animal, pretty much. But
nice.
I've got some tanks back here, so I do a little bit of both. And like I said, I'd like to do some display stuff for the Alterna that I really like and stuff.
Yeah.
Now these guys kick ass in these tubs, and pretty straightforward. One of the things I like about them the most is that I can feel like I'm doing okay by them, doing good by them rather. Keeping them like that, which makes me feel good and allows me to have more than I probably would of a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to do that.
Gotcha. Bosa Reptiles wanted to know, can they be on ambient heat only?
Absolutely.
He's in Homestead, so he's
lots of people do it. I know a lot of people who are, far more reputable and successful than me that do them like that. Ambient's great. Yeah. I've long thought about switching my room over. There are still some. I was honestly worried that it might be too warm for the Alterna if I just ran this room at like 80. I don't think it would. The more I think about it, the more people I talk to, I think I could totally do it. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to run a heater in here. I've got one of those oil-filled heaters that Jake Brotz raves about, and at some point I may try it. Like when I get everybody warmed back up, there may be I may just see, because I use heat cable, not heat tape.
Gotcha.
And I keep a good eye on it, and it's all where I can get to every bit of it, and like make sure nothing's acting funky and stuff. But it's still a lot of things designed to get hot all over the place, So
right. I would say
run ambient with them, and they do wonderful.
Yeah, I would say test run it, man. I see you have the lockable tubs. Just like kind of just leave them in the middle of the room, almost like not in the middle, but you know what I mean. Just leave them ambient and see how they do. Make sure they're eating, and like in my opinion, it's not even really an opinion. As long as they're eating, shitting, breeding, they're a happy, healthy snake. So
Well,
as long as they're exhibiting all the proper behaviors,
results speak for themselves. And I've got things around here that are, not on heat right now. Even, I mean, it is, like I've got a handful of baby Everglades rat or juvenile Everglades rats at this point. They're growing like weeds, but and they're just running with the room, man. And they do fine. They eat, they poop, they shed, they bite. They do all the things, and they're running, and they're next to stuff. Like I've got a Govia over there, and I think it runs like 75 or so, like because there's heat around them for other things. But I mean, they do fine. They could probably stand to be a little warmer, but they're also rat snakes, and they're born survivors. Like by their very nature, and they do really well. And they like I said, I've seen no inclination that they are having a hard time because of it. But
when it comes to species that are like these, North American species, like you have to think about like the winters these animals go through and survive. Keeping these animals ambient is no problem. That's why I have no problem leaving my Texas rats ambient, even when it gets a little warmer here. Like we're talking like they're from Texas. Like it gets hot in Texas. Like
it does all the things in Texas, man.
Exactly. It gets hot, it gets cold. Like these animals, and now granted, I'm not advocating for going to extremes, but these animals can handle
there's common
a wide
sense
range
with all this. Yeah. And I mean, I've like those things do fine. And I could, I've got, like if I have to bring something in and it gets late and I set it down in here and it goes, the night without heat, it's, I'm sure there are things that would, might not like that as well, like some of the more temperamental stuff. But I mean, these things are pretty damn indestructible. And, that's one of my favorite things about them.
Yeah. And so diet wise, what are you doing with that? Just straight mice or
straight mice? Straight mice, unless they're, a few of these that, require lizards, which, not by choice in that sense for a number of reasons, but they got to eat, and, straight mice, usually nothing gets anything bigger than like a large adult mouse, like my big Floridana. Like he's a brute. And, years ago, I would occasionally feed him a small rat just because I thought it was cool, but I doubt I'll ever do that again. He does like quail eggs, which is really fun to watch.
Nice.
Because kings are fairly narrow jawed snake. They're not like rat snakes that do like a damn largemouth bass when they go to eat something. They're snake eaters and lizard eaters, neither of which are particularly wide. So watching him roll a quail egg around there, was fun.
Yeah, it's interesting.
He eventually corners it and eats it, but the button quail ones were a little more his speed. Of course, I've got when my egg eater decides to not want to eat something, I'll just put it in there with him or one of these rat snakes and stuff. But for the most part, it's just rodents. Rodents are, of course, snakes. If you end up with something in the freezer, a couple of these big kings, something long frozen, of course. But yes, they will sometimes appreciate that. Not really make a habit out of that either, though, just because I don't feel like I need to. But
cool. And now before we get into the herping, what other species? So you mentioned a few already. So just colubrids still. So you said a couple different rat snakes. You mentioned a Gulf hammock and some Everglades. And did you say an egg eater?
Yes, I have one egg eater, and it's super awesome. They're literally the perfect snake, except for the fact that they eat eggs. And even that, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing, except mine wants finch eggs. And she is more than big enough to eat like button quail eggs, which I can get locally, or the Coturnix, however you say that word, quail eggs from like the grocery store, warmed up and stuff. Nothing to do with those. No, I have to order finch eggs from a man in Jacksonville, and it's just dude, and they're not super cheap. no, I would honestly though, like, and I would honestly straight up have like a finch aviary just to facilitate me having more egg eaters. They're so cool. They have these these big ass eyes. They're strictly nocturnal, and like gigantic eyes, little blunt noses, and keeled scales. They just feel so cool, compared to like these slick king snakes and stuff.
Right.
This like heavily keeled African snake, and they do many species of them too. Not even just the ones that are like a mimic, but they're a saw-scaled viper, Echis. They're a mimic of those. At least one species is not the one I have, but they do this little thing where they just spin on themselves like they just grind their loops and their scales on each other, and it creates this really low like hiss. And you think the snake is hissing at you, but it's just the scales. Okay. And that's something that saw-scale vipers do, and the egg eaters will do it only if they're really pissed off. Like she's done it once, and it's been years, but
gotcha.
No, egg eaters are awesome. They're not super expensive. Once they don't want finch eggs, they are probably not a pain in the ass anymore. That's the only reason that I would have a bunch more of those, and I may one day, but I don't want to have to feed finch eggs to a clutch of babies for several months. This is one of the only things. Right. So I've got the egg eater. Sorry, the egg eater rant. I love that.
It's all good.
But I've got those. I've got 4 Everglades rats. From good friend Mike Kosicki. Does a lot of stuff like that. He sent me a handful of those. I had a little Polk County yellow that I actually recently gave to my mom because she's loves rat snakes just to keep.
Okay.
Breeds the balls occasionally, but she's an absolute rat snake fanatic. And I have a big adult Gulf hammock out in the display out there, and he's nice. He's fun. He kind of gets whatever, he gets chicks, he gets rats, he gets eggs, and he's a rat snake, so he loves it all. And he's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think colubrid wise. I have a pair of corns from Chris Painshop for some reason. And I say that they're freaking awesome. I don't even know what morph they are. They're around here somewhere. I had to write it down, but they're both gorgeous, and I'm sure I can't leave anything alone. So when they grow up, though, I'm sure I'll have corn snake babies for some reason they're here. But I've got what are really cool. Another on the Texas subject, they're around here somewhere as well. I have some Mealmorum rather, thorn scrub rat snakes from him. And those things are really cool. Like those things I'm enjoying immensely. They have these really cool like facial bars, and stuff.
The pattern on those guys are interesting for sure.
It's very reminiscent, to me of Eastern Diamondbacks around here with that big black stripe through the eye. And that's for some reason I get EDB vibes from them, even though they're a little brown Texas corn snake essentially. But like, no, I'm digging the hell out of those things, and they're voracious eaters, which they fit right in here. But
yeah,
I think colubrid. Oh no, I've got pine snake. Jesus, I've got also while we're on the subject of Chris Painshop racking up the numbers of snakes in my room. I got one of his vertebralis babies this last year. He cool. he had success with those vertebralis, and he ended up having an extra male, and I was fortunate enough to get there before anybody else, or I guess just bugged him enough probably, and is awesome. I pretty much ignore it other than feeding it because it wants nothing to do with me, and because I'm kind of, he's told me not to do this, but I kind of tiptoe around the thing, because I've heard they're so high stress.
Okay.
I've been given no trouble out of it at all. It eats, it sheds, it hates me, it ignores me, it wants to never see me, which I'm fine with, for the most part. If I get a wild hair, I'll take it out real quick. But I've got that, and I've got one of his Janai as well, and I will have to get more of those because these things are just as cool as everything he says about them is true. They're wonderful, and everybody needs some.
Yeah, I got to see Kevin Barron's recently. I went to his house. He has some some babies. They're definitely cool as babies. I'd love to see them as adults. I need more interaction with Pituophis adults. They're just cool.
My mom bred black pines when I was a teenager, and
nice.
Yeah, that was I didn't realize how damn cool that was. Like I was like, oh, look at these boas.
Yeah,
boas are wonderful. I want more boas, but talk about that later. But those damn black pines were just the coolest thing. They would literally like purr, big ass 6-foot black snake, keeled snake that just growls and purrs at you and stuff. And like, oh, dude, those things.
Yeah.
They're on the
Pituophis hiss is it's a little bit intimidating, but it's cool.
Oh yeah. And I can't have the one that I want. I want Florida's, man. And I guess I can have one. I think the rules are you can have one of a normal phenotype. You can have morphs, but those are the ones that I think are the coolest because they're assholes, and that's important.
Nice.
I think that's it, colubrid wise.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think so. I'm looking around.
All right, cool. Let's get into the herping a little bit, because that's something that's big, for you and what you're into, and you have a lot of posts, showing off rattlesnakes. Obviously, rattlesnakes is something that's got to be super intriguing about herping, especially down here. We have the
best one,
Eastern Diamondbacks, of course. We have timbers down here, right?
Few little spots in Florida, up the very top, like East Coast stuff, and then some areas they dip down into the Panhandle. But
gotcha.
Historically, I think they were a little further, but it's been a long time, and there's only really a few spots, like Central Florida and like I'd love to find one in Florida. I've never found a cane in Florida, but
gotcha.
Maybe one day.
Gotcha. All right, yeah. Let's talk about it a little bit. What has your journeys brought you in herping wise? Some of the animals you've found. Just talk all about it.
Well, one thing that my herping has brought me probably the most is ruined brake pads and rotors on my poor truck, and lots and lots of miles on that poor vehicle, because I do herp the Apalachicola National Forest a lot. So a lot of that is just banging your poor vehicle down dirt roads out there.
Okay.
For like very little reward most nights, but I enjoy getting out there, man, and that I really always kind of think of myself as just a herper with an unusable bedroom in his house. Like I'll always do it as much as I can. And it was probably there more when I was not keeping as much.
Okay.
Well, I was probably one of the things that kept me more into the hobby than anything. I mean, I always, a few animals and stuff, but when you only have a few, you can not interact with them a lot more because it doesn't take as long to, take care of a few. But obviously with this many, I'm in here every day and stuff. But herping, you can let it consume you, and it has. I don't let it as much anymore. Life is getting fast. As you get older, it's what it does. But it's been really rewarding. I've seen some really awesome places, and I've met a lot of really cool buddies around here that whether like a lot of them don't even keep reptiles, and they're just awesome herpers, and I learn a lot from them, and it's just, I don't know, there's something about, and like other hobbies of mine, like hunting and fishing and stuff like that, there's also that thrill of the chase aspect that I kind of so I guess that probably plays into it for me. It's that yeah, we got him kind of thing, and
yeah, I'm a hunter as well, and I could just say even just being out there in the wilderness, in my opinion, is just fun. Just getting to walk through the woods, see different surroundings, like
it unplugs you, man, and plugs you back in. It's a reset, and I do it as much as I can. And I've, gas prices the way they are, I don't always go out into the national forest as much as I used to, but that's also forced me to take a look at more localized things to me. And that's actually been super rewarding, because a big part of herping that you can ignore, it's much to your detriment, is to not really lean on the whole researching part of it and stuff. Cause it's a whole different way of doing it, other than just, like going out and riding roads, seeing what you see there. Once you understand why these are here, or why something might be there, or I'm going to try that spot because of this, it's like adding the speculation aspect to it is, that the research brings, is a whole different level of enjoyment for me. And I've kind of been, been honing that a little more lately, but no, it's brought me just as much frustration as it has, like happiness from finding stuff, just because, when conditions are right and you get skunked, it's a gut punch, a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can take a picture of the sunset and be like, oh, it was beautiful out there and all that. But, you're still bummed that
right.
You're still bummed it didn't work out. But I'll tell you what, the duality of having a collection to come home and play with is nice. And then conversely, if I feel like I'm burning out at all from this collection, I can go ride roads or flip 10, and that I sort of use each of the facet, herping and keeping to hold each other up, and sort of, I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but like,
no, I get you. Yeah. It's something different. It's breaking the habit a little bit.
Yeah,
almost.
It's both of those are sort of a reset from the other, and they help to sort of like counterbalance each other and stuff. And downside to that is almost everything I do revolves around snakes, and which is actually not much of a downside, but it makes me look crazier to all my normie friends, probably. Like,
I'm with you, dude. I tell everyone now, I barely go on my personal social media. My girlfriend and parents probably think I'm crazy because I'm just obsessed with this hobby, but this is what I do. This is what I do.
And
I take care of my snakes, and I go to reptile shows, and I talk to people about snakes.
Yeah, and it's a good one. It's very easy to do, and it's a very good and rewarding hobby to be obsessed with. I've found there are a lot of hobbies that are, I don't know, harder to be obsessed with and less rewarding to be obsessed with.
Yeah.
Like you get a lot out of, pouring yourself into this hobby, and, it's just cool. And, I've made a lot of really awesome friends, and it's been nice. It's been, they've been something to lean on, when I need to. And, I might have a few more snakes around here than I would otherwise, but that is fine.
Yeah.
But this last year herping, I had a pretty good start to my year. I've no kings, because I honestly, like the Apalachicola kings being my white whale, I hit it pretty hard for those, and you're looking at a very, very low success rate on finding one of those, even with the right conditions. Okay. I've always been a big fan of, you ain't going to find them at the house. So even, I don't usually wait for perfect conditions. It's probably something I'll start doing a little more, but I've always been, I like going, I like being out there. So, I spend a lot of time and gas doing it when I'm probably not going to find anything or anything meaningful. But when I say meaningful, it's all meaningful. I stop and take pictures of every damn pygmy rattler that I find. They're literally thick as fleas out there. I will stop and get out and at least take a voucher of that thing. And I've got a special little hook I made for moving pygmies off the road that's like that big. Like, it's just
nice.
They're one of my favorite things, and super successful in a lot of places out there. And I love seeing it, because it may not be like that one day.
Yeah.
But no, I found a lot of really cool stuff. Like, I've kind of got EDBs figured out as much as you really can. A lot of finding rattlesnakes seems to just be going and getting lucky. I mean, obviously you can like target places and, you know, like times of day and stuff, but I mean, it's just kind of, I haven't really figured it out. I found them in the evening. I found them at lunchtime, like going and cruising a WMA on my lunch break or something. Found them like that. That was actually a really good day. But I don't know. I kind of think one of the things I'm going to focus on a little more this next year is traveling more. And I know a lot of people say it, but like traveling more to herp, because I've been really dialed in with that forest and with that white whale species. And I've probably missed out on a lot of other lifers and stuff because of that. And I'm kind of wondering if a step back is needed. Although the minute I do that and I'm, you know, up in Georgia finding cane breaks and somebody posts a picture of an Appalach, I'm going to be inconsolable, but you know, that's fine. You can't win them all. But a lot of the coolest stuff that I've found the last couple of years here has been EDBs. I've been pretty good at finding corals, which you know, that seems to be another one of like, you know, you can kind of tree it as far as the weather goes, but also you just, you know, you got to still get lucky kind of thing. But what are we going for? There's that coral. That one, awesome. And I was really, really thankful for that one because the last two I've found, I didn't get good pictures of, and that one was actually it was freshly burned area, and so it was pretty open, and I could just like walk after it until it stopped and take pictures. It wasn't like it was just fucking off into, you know, 5 foot high palmettos right on the edge of the road and gone forever, because you know they don't like to hold still. Yeah, jumping around. That thing was awesome. It was a really dark one too. That was pretty.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Heart out, Smitty. Eat your heart out, Smitty. But no, I'm just kidding. I need to get Justin up here. That's his favorite damn snake, and I need to get him up there to see if we can't find a coral. Which saying it probably means it won't happen, but we can try. Yeah, dude. Like I said, like there's very few things that are as photogenic as little pygmy rattlers, and I'm fortunate there's so many of them because I'd never get tired of seeing them. And they're variable as hell. Like, I mean, you can see some like that with hardly any, almost anery. And then you can see some with just like high orange on them. And it's just, it never gets old. That big ass EDB right there was my buddy Nick's lifer. And you could not ask for a more beautiful, that thing was probably about 5 feet long.
Yeah, that's a great picture too.
That was a good one, and he's got a bunch of really good ones. He actually had a camera. I'm just a redneck with a phone out there, man. One of these days we'll go down the camera rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That day I got my lifer coach whip that day. Actually, no, that
was this guy.
No, I see. I kind of that picture of the rat snake. That's from about a year prior.
Okay.
But no, that last coach whip, the one that's in the thumbnail as well, that was really special to me because the cabinet shop I work at butts up to some really nice habitat. It's just full of like gopher tortoises and stuff, and coach whips. And I've seen them, and I've never been able to catch one. And I flipped that guy under like a pile of countertops out back after a good year of like targeting coach whips out there. Like I've been throwing artificial cover out there myself. Around through there and stuff. And I've found 2 out there now. It was a really good, it was a spring of coach whips. Yeah. That one was out in Liberty County. It's about 30 minutes from here.
Gotcha.
I hit my stride on coach whips pretty good this last year. And it felt good. And I started the year off finding a couple of really nice cane breaks that you see there. So I think that might have actually been in December of the previous year. Yeah, that's that lifer coach whip, that little baby next to that. But dude, this guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the one, man. Nice. And I was through the moon. I know. I mean, they're not the most uncommon thing, but I was getting frustrated, and my buddy Mike and I were out herping that day. We had about a 5 species day, which was awesome. And then on the way back, cruised a coach whip in the road, and it meant a lot. It was a good little happy chemical boost for me.
Yeah.
Now, if I could just find some king snakes, man, I'm so close to some of the prettiest locality phenotypes of Eastern kings, in my opinion. You get up into South Georgia, right above us, has these just super awesome thin banded, just jet black, thin banded, like paper thin Eastern kings. And they're pretty plentiful up that way. And I've only really herped a lot of that a couple of times. And I feel like I'm really doing myself a disservice by not peeling away from that dang national forest that I have right here and going up and spending a little more time because I need some king snakes in my life. I'm good at keeping them, or at least I seem to be, and I need some of that to rub off into the maybe finding them category.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man.
That may be a big thing that may be a big goal for this year, is try to focus on Lampropeltis a little more herping wise.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, and Chris was harping and honing in on it last week, but like honestly, just learning that kind of natural history, learning about these animals, seeing where they come from, seeing these natural phenotypes. I mean, you can't get better than that, because that's where these animals started from, in captivity. Obviously, it had to come from wild caught somewhere. So, seeing these things, seeing them for yourself, and I'd love to have my own Palm Beach County locale animals in my own collection. It would be awesome, because homegrown animals.
It's a nice little way to remind yourself of stuff, and if you have a certain tie to an area, or somewhere you used to live, or somewhere you visited with, or something like that.
Yeah,
locality animals from there. It's like a little memento. Not meaning that as to cheapen them being animals and super important either, but just like an added little reminder of a place or something, that kind of stuff's awesome. I mean, and yes, Chris was absolutely right. You really gain more of an appreciation and a knowledge for how your animals need to be kept and what they do and stuff, because you can read about it all you want and talk about it all you want, but you find one doing something, it's pretty cool,
Yeah. 100%. Now, this part of the podcast, we kind of talked about everything, what you're doing. And, it's obviously a Colubrid podcast, but one thing that has been evident is that Colubrid keepers like to be diverse and like to keep other things just because they're super interested about these animals. So if you don't mind, can you go into some of the non-Colubrid things you're currently keeping?
Non-colubrid things. Well, I mentioned the leopard geckos. I have a pair of cresteds sitting in my bedroom, just chilling. They're just goofy little things, and they're a lot of fun to have. And I like stuff like that. I've got 4 ball pythons right now, and they're all just like single gene stuff. My mom has. I mean, I'm so far behind the curve on my ball python stuff. Like I literally have albino and pied stuff is like single gene stuff, and like that's I just remember being a kid and being like, oh my god, one day, and like now they're so accessible, and actually all of these have come from my mom. She produced some pieds and was like, you want one? And I was like, yeah, I've wanted a piebald ball python since I was a child, and never just like went and got myself one, even when they got to be a reasonable price. So like, I've got my little pied here, and I've got, I still think plain old albinos are some of the prettiest things in the world. Got a pair of those. They're just, I do have those. I like them a lot. I have a real big asshole of a Dumeral's boa sitting behind me. as a local boa breeder, good friend of mine. I think she was given this. It's a baby. It's actually a yearling, but it's tiny. Has never eaten in its life.
Really?
Has been force fed to stay alive. Will not eat. And I guess she thought, hey, I'll turn a guy. Get this thing to eat. And it is kicking my ass. And it sucks because it's beautiful. And I love, like I said, the first snakes I was around were boas. And I've always wanted to get back into boas. And, like at some point I will probably do some of the dwarf stuff. But, and this thing won't eat. And I'm just like, man, what am I doing? So that's my current dragon to slay, is trying to get this thing to eat. And I've just been fiddling with all the different, temps and, substrates and prey items, and just, you think about how many different possible, combinations of those three things there are, and you can spend a lot of time not getting something to eat, by doing different things the whole time. But no, I've got the Leos, I've got the Cresteds, I've got that boa, I've got the balls. That might. Oh no, I have my my gigantic, or gigantic for an IJ. I have this big Papuan carpet python up here.
Yes.
I've had for about about 10 years now, and he's not going anywhere. He sits up there and glares at me, and he gives me my kind of big snake fix. He's probably about 5.5, probably 6 feet long, maybe. He's a big old. They're not a particularly large carpet python species, but like he's a big one. He's a good eater, and but yeah, he gives me my fix for that. And I'm not. Eventually, I may get more into carpets, but I don't know that it'll be IJs. There's a lot of other really cool stuff going on with carpets.
Yeah.
But he's earned his spot sitting here, keeping me company, because he was the only snake I had for a while, and he's always been there, and he's always been rock solid. So he isn't going anywhere.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think that's it. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless
Solid Serpents was asking, what do Florida people think about herping in Utah? I'm going to be honest, I have no idea about anything in Utah.
There's a lot of things out there that sound awesome. Don't y'all have Gilas? Like, I would shit my britches if I saw a Gila monster. And if there aren't Gila monsters in Utah, I apologize. I'm a dumbass, but I'm from Florida. But no, there's a lot of stuff out there. You have the Utah milks and stuff. Like, I mean, Utah is a destination for a lot of people, and it wasn't so dang far.
Yeah, and you mentioned milks. I don't think I asked. Are you keeping any milk snake species? Any other Lampropeltis that we didn't mention?
Not yet, but that's something I would like to do. I've several different milk snakes are such a vast, thing in and of itself. Like that I didn't touch on. I have, on my notes. I don't know shit about milks really, but I want some. That's what I have written on my notes to remind me. But there's just, you can go forever on milks, man, and they're so cool, and they span the whole damn country, and they're all cool. Like, I would love some of the Easterns that we have up the East Coast here. Some of those Midwest, the pales from out Midwest are awesome. Have you ever seen a pale milk snake? They're one of the coolest things. It's just, you can go on and on, man. Some of that South American or Central American stuff down there is just wild, And then you can get lost in the morphs with hondos and stuff, and that's just, I'm scared to start, because I'm sure I will become just as enamored with them as I am with every other Lampropeltis. There's a lot of
Hondurans are cool, man. I used to help breed them at the pet store I worked at, so I've had like hands-on experience breeding Hondurans. Yes. Adult Hondurans get like a pretty fair size.
Like, if you want something a little more substantial than like one of these little 3-foot kings, get you a damn Hondo or something, dude.
Yeah. One thing about baby milk snakes are little spazzes, though. They're definitely interesting. They won't even bite you. You just pick them up and they're just flopping everywhere. Yeah,
you feel like they're gonna.
We both did the same thing.
Flailing when you pick them up. Yeah, that's how these Scarlet Kings are as adults. and they're kind of milky, like I think there was a little bit of taxonomic, like I think they
right.
But yeah, man, I would like to get into some milks. Probably do the same kind of thing I do with the Kings and stick to the more of the locality thing because it's just there's plenty to go into that. There's Andeans are really awesome as far as some of the non-North American stuff. The Andeans have this really cool tipping on them and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen like black milk snakes when they're starting to do that onogenic change, and they go from just a really pretty tricolored milk snake and they start just tipping out and fuzzing out and turning black like that. The Andeans kind of look like what those do when they're starting to do it.
Right.
And it drives me nuts. There's a few of those species that do that. And that's something I would want because I think that's one of the coolest looks for that stuff. But yeah, no milks now, but I have designs on some. It just comes down to time, money, and space, but
Yep.
I don't mind playing the long game on some of these things. There's also some more Montane King species that I would like to get into, like some Greeri and some Mex and stuff, which I don't have that of, but like you can plenty to expand on,
Yeah. Solid Serpents did confirm there are Gila monsters in Utah.
Whew. Yeah, I'm on the way.
Yeah. All right, man. So kind of some of my wrap up-ish topics. I threw this one in there last week and I like the question. So I'm curious to know what you have to say. Someone's coming to you for advice. They don't know really much about snakes. What's your advice point or what's your guidance? What's your elevator pitch for Lampropeltis? The stuff you generally keep.
That's a good question. My pitch for Lampropeltis, I was thinking about this earlier, is like, why do I, what do I say to, to kind of make people like lamps over other stuff? And I always kind of bounced around with the whole, they're basically like Americana, like they're pretty next to like a rattlesnake, you have, at least for like the southern part of the United States, there's king snakes and, they're just a pretty iconic thing. But then I thought a far better argument would be that they're trash pile snakes that cannibalize and, I almost got to kind of lean into the crazy, because they are kind of crazy. I mean, that's not to say they're going to just like bite the hell out of you. And the babies are a little nippy. And I always kind of balk at recommending them to like a first snake buyer for that reason. But
or even a little kid.
It's the little kid thing. Like go for although a corn snake's going to bite you too, probably.
Yeah, anything will.
That little little scared baby ball python's going to, if you're scared to pick it up, it's going to strike at you, and then it's not going to eat for 6 months. You're going to. That's one thing I will say is you get one that's eating, it's going to eat. They're from here, so you're probably not going to kill it if you do a little bit of goofy stuff with your parameters and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the same thing. I've got a Japanese maple in my yard that I have to try pretty hard not to kill. I did kill one. I killed a $500 one shortly after moving in here. It was a nightmare. I love that thing. And then conversely, out back of the cabinet shop, there's a little baby oak tree growing in a pile of sawdust.
Okay.
That kind of sums it up for me. You can have all the exotic stuff you want, and there's some beautiful stuff in there. And a lot of things from that, side of the hobby that I want. But you can get a lot of really cool stuff from somewhere that you live, and you've already got that in your corner for helping you do a good job, especially if you don't know a lot about it. I don't know if that's an answer or if that made any sense.
No, it's good. I mean, they're, you're right. They make great pets. They're an easy snake to take care of.
They're very easy, man. And honestly, the nippiness, the feeding response, I think scares some people. But I mean, if you once you know to expect that, and it's second nature to me. So I feel kind of, a lot of people it isn't, and that's where it scares them, But it just, once you get over that, or get used to that, or and you're not, they don't all do it, but some of them are crazy. I did my female Appalach to that male that I showed you. I don't name a lot of my animals. Her name is Karen because she will literally have a pinky, or I guess fuzzies at this point, in her mouth and will just strike me and strike me and strike me, ramrodding a pinky down her throat out of rage at me. But then the male is just pretty chill. Like he's fine. So the only thing that I wouldn't, that makes me hesitant to just say, get a king snake immediately, like for kids and stuff, is like that. But I still usually do it because I love them and I want other people. A king snake in every hand, that's kind of how it should be.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the whole goal, is we have to pass this on to the next generation. So even something like I do it at shows too with the Texas rats, animals people don't really see before. I'm keeping a lot of the scaleless stuff. I am working with the morphs. I don't really have locality, but I'm like, hey, look at how beautiful these snakes are. Not a lot of people are working with them, and a lot of people don't have nice ones like this. Sorry to toot my own horn, but it's true. And it's just like,
these things are nice.
Yeah. And I'm just like, hey, like, this is super untapped. I'm like, they're just fantastic animals, super variable. So, the argument is almost the same for both of these, species and things. Like, the kings are just really cool overall. So
you can do whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. If you want one that looks a certain way, there's almost guaranteed to be one. Yep. Whether it be a locality thing or a certain subspecies or a morph. I mean, there's something you're going to like size wise, everything, and I mean, within reason. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to choose from. There's a lot going on there,
Yeah. Before we go any further, we have to find out, is the name dropping tonight? We need Harry's official snake page name.
When I mentioned that to you and we talked about that, I was like, okay, well that's the kick in the pants I need. I have to figure something out now. And I am by nature one of the most indecisive people on the planet. And I got it down to two. And I figured what I would do to kind of whet the appetite for it is I'd say both, and I'd give a quick pitch for both. And
chat, we need your votes in live time.
No guarantees that I'll listen to the votes, but and I may do something totally different from either of these. But the first one is going to be Tally Kings. Now, Tally is, what the all the townies, of which I am one, from here call Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And obviously the majority of my collection is kings. And one of the reasons that I have been building this collection in the manner that I have is because I want to disproportionately skew the local reptile community in favor of king snakes, just because that will give me a power trip. And I think, I want to do a lot of local stuff, like when I start breeding a little more, like that's
right.
What I'm more interested in. Like I'll probably, obviously do other things, but I want to be a local presence. I want to, vend our local shows and have like a badass display and be like, but have you seen king snakes? Like when kids are walking through there, and Tally Kings is it's a little more silly, it's not a super serious name and stuff, but yeah, Tally Kings. That was actually the one that I'd been kicking around the longest. And secondly, a little more of a grown-up sounding, one, like Wayside Herpeticulture.
Okay.
And again, it's still a freaking back to my roots towny thing. I grew up actually a little bit north of Tallahassee in Havana and on Wayside Farms Road. And I've got a bunch of friends, and we all, we all grew up there and stuff. And a lot of them have actually moved back out there and bought, houses and stuff out there. And so Wayside Herpeticulture would kind of be a, homage to where I came from. And it's also a little bit more, I guess, serious sounding, which is terrible for me because I can't go more than about 5 minutes being serious before I have to say something silly. So maybe that's an argument for the Tally Kings one, but I think as far as like logo design and stuff, one would be a little more slapstick and one would be a little more like, traditional and serious professional, I guess. So that's
but you know what? We're doing reptiles. It doesn't always have to be.
We don't have to.
Have you seen some of the ball python names out there?
Dude, I'm telling you, if I read ball pythons, mine would be worse than all of them. So yes, I am a fan. I think it's great. But yeah, like, you don't want to take yourself too seriously. I got a bunch of snakes in boxes here. But I nerd out pretty hard on these guys, and so I could make a decent justification for both of those. But the time is coming here soon to brand myself, and those are the two front runners right now. And there's no guarantees that it'll be either of those two. But if anybody likes either of those,
Tally King is taking the win right now.
You think so? Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. I don't have the chat in front of me. Okay.
No, it's all good. There's, besides myself, 1, 2, 3, 4 people that said Tally Kings.
Okay. Well, still, that's pretty good. That's a pretty hefty margin. So yeah, I don't know. And I think I would have more fun designing merch and stuff and stuff like that. And I'm also, being from Tallahassee, I'm a huge FSU fan. And I could do a lot of cool like FSU themed stuff with Tally Kings as a name, and that's kind of, some people will probably put them off, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. So I don't know. Yeah, well, maybe that's it. Nothing's in stone, and but that may be the go-to.
Kevin went and combined them.
Wayside, Kevin. Yeah. He's had some less PG ones to suggest me in the past, I think. So, but yeah, man, I don't know. I think maybe Tally Kings or a Wayside or Petaculture, depending. But sooner or later, I'm going to have to do it because, like I said, I want to put a king snake in every hand around here in town, man. I want to.
Hell yeah.
I want to, not obviously taking other people's business. That's not what it's about. But I want king snakes in hands, damn it. And
yeah,
that was kind of one of my reasons for wanting to get back into it, and the level that I'm starting to is I want people to realize there's more out there than what you typically see. And king snakes,
that's what the show's about.
Yes, sir.
That's what the show's about, shining light on a lot of these colubrid species that people don't know about. And that includes myself, because I'm definitely ignorant to some of the things out there, and you definitely shown a light on some cool kings that, especially ones you don't see every day. Cause you see cow kings for days. Like those are cool. And you see milk snakes, which are technically kings all day long. But even that speckled king is beautiful. Like I would have no problem keeping one of those. Like, come on. And you would even the others.
And you would have no difficulty keeping one of those. That's the best part. They're not, it's, you get to have your cake and eat it too. You have just unlimited variability, and none of them are particularly hard to keep with like a modicum of, knowledge. And even without, people do it. I mean, it's just great. They're good things.
Yeah.
And I don't see myself taking my foot off the gas anytime soon with them.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, man. Well, it has been a fantastic, just about hour and 45 minutes. Anything you want to say to the chat? There's 18 likes on here. There was at one point 22 people in here at one time. So there were probably more than that watching. What do you have to say to everyone who was here supporting you, checking out the show and learning about king snakes?
The people make the hobby, and thanks for listening. And, the people make the hobby what it is. So be good to each other. And, that's what makes it so much fun, is all the awesome people you meet when you do it. We all like the same thing, just different flavors of it. So
hell yeah.
Remember that next time you think about saying something mean to somebody, just remember we all like the same thing. And, being nice goes a lot farther.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and talking about everything. This was great. You are definitely a wealth of knowledge, just like all the other guests. But it's really cool to have someone on who knows about all the stuff they keep and very well. So big thank you to Harry. Thank you. And I'm going to throw you backstage, run the outro, and I will talk to you when it's over.
Thanks for having me on, man.
No problem. Guys, what another fantastic episode of Colubrid Corruption. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Again, like I said, Harry was awesome. He was recommended to me by Billy Hunt in the very beginning, and I kind of put off bringing him on for no particular reason, but I knew I'd have him on eventually. But this was great, and getting to know him a little bit better, so that was cool. We've kind of just been interacting on social media a little bit. But guys, as always, another awesome episode. If you enjoyed today, make sure you hit that like button, because I know everyone who was in here did not hit that like button. So get it up, get the likes up. While you're also here, hit that subscribe button so that every single week at 7:30, you know that we're going live every single Sunday, 7:30 p.m. EST. So make sure you're here for it. We're going to keep this train rolling. Obviously, these episodes have been awesome. As always, I've mentioned all my social medias down below. Go follow me on Instagram. I am at $13.99. Get me to 1,400 and then get me to 1,500. Let's keep it running. Yeah, guys. But once again, this has been another episode of the Colubrid Corruption Podcast. Today was episode number 11, featuring Harry Claiborne, otherwise known as, or soon to be known as, Tally Kings. Guys, have a great night and a great weekend or rest of the weekend, and I will see you all next week. Peace.